Welcome back to Parenting Shrink Wrapped. Sam here with Melissa, and I am bursting at the seams. I'm so excited for this conversation because we have our very first guest who is not an adult. Well, I mean, technically she is. She's 19. But she's at that wonderful age where she's of the adult age, but she still has her finger on the pulse of what it means to be a teen or a young adult. And Sonia Suthar, who is the founder of Cloud9, is going to knock your socks off. She has a TED Talk, first of all. Let me just pause right there. You can Google her TED Talk. And her TED Talk is all about parent and teen connections and disconnections. I mean, that's what she's talking about. And Cloud9 is her organization where she teaches teens life skills and then teaches parents how to support teens' acquisition of these life skills. So doesn't that sound awesome, right? So this is teens teaching teens. Sonia, I cannot wait to talk to you about this. So her mission is to help teens and parents build the kind of emotional intelligence and self-awareness that changes how families actually talk to each other. And, her thing is when teens grow, a parent has to grow too, and that is where the magic happens. And amen to that. So if you've been listening to the podcast or you know anything about me, you know why when Sonia reached out and introduced herself, this was an immediate yes from me. I didn't even care what Melissa said.
Usually, I wasn't going to say no.
Usually it's a joint conversation about guests, but Sonia was like top of the list because I am a champion of teenagers. I have spent my entire life working with them. I think they're amazing. And we end all of our podcasts by saying, thank you for raising the next generation of world changers. We have the privilege of talking to a world changer right now. Sonia Suthar, welcome to Parenting Shrink Wrapped. We're thrilled to have you on.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Before we get going, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us where you're chiming in from, and tell us about Cloud9 and how it got started.
Yeah, so of course, as you guys said, my name is Sonia, and I'm in Austin, Texas, born and raised my whole life, so don't really know anywhere else. And I am building Cloud9. I started building it in high school, which was like last year, for 2.5 years. And then I honestly got nervous, so I stopped. I did a TED Talk instead, which, funnily enough, was easier for me than actually building a business. And then
that tracks for me. That tracks. I feel you. Keep going.
Yeah, and so then I came back to Cloud9 because in my heart, I just felt like this was something that I needed to fight for and go for, because I knew that all I wanted to do is help serve others. And this, I felt like, was something that I could truly help people at such a high level.
And so you are in the process of iterating, probably, of like making Cloud9 into what you want it to be. Yes?
Yes, and not only making Cloud9 into what I want it to be, but something I've learned is like making Cloud9 into something that everyone else wants to, right? Because it's so easy to just share your own ideas, but you really have to collaborate with your customers as well.
So what are some things that you have learned as you've been thinking this way are important to kids, to young people and families that Cloud9 wants to provide?
Yeah, one thing is definitely I didn't think about the parenting portion, right? I've had like everyone does, but a tough relationship with your parents as you're growing up in your teenage years. And so I didn't think about that part of like, oh, maybe I should add a little bit of support on the parenting side. And then like one of my coaches, who's a parent coach, and like offered, and I asked her if she would be open to collaborating with me on that portion, and she was like, yes, totally. And so now we're working together on that side, which is really good because when I started to change and my parents started to change, that's when the growth like exponentially accelerated.
For you and your household, you mean? Like things improved
Yes.
for you? Peace, you found peace and connection and all the things that you'd hoped you could achieve someday.
Yes, exactly.
Sonia, where did this idea originally stem from? Because you're ahead of your years, honestly, at 19 for what you've already achieved, and kind of your thought process even to kind of have been building this amazing platform.
Yeah, great question. So I've always been in the Tony Robbins world where he's like super into personal growth, strategy, just in your mind. And in my school's quite unique, Alpha, and they were like, okay, you must build a business in high school. And so I was like, okay, what do I do? For the first 2 years, I was playing around with like life coaching. I love design, so something in interior design, maybe modeling, because I just loved fashion. And then one day I was like sitting in the car with my dad, and he was just talking to me, and he didn't love the idea of modeling from my perception. He thought I was like here for something else, something bigger. And so he's like asking me these questions because the best way for a teen to like change what they're doing is asking questions, definitely not telling them what to do.
Bingo, bingo. There's research behind that. Keep going.
Yes, yes. And so he's asking me these questions, and he was like, okay, well, what do you love to do? I love to travel. I've been blessed with so many opportunities to go to amazing places. I love to hang out with my friends and just like talk and teach others, really help others. And then he was like, well, what are you good at? And since I had this Tony Robbins background, this personal development background, I had a good grasp on emotional intelligence from reading. Not necessarily practicing as much, but really like reading and getting into the nitty gritty of that. And then I was pretty good at teaching and giving advice to others because I had that empathy gene just in myself. And then what does the world need? And this is like such a powerful question, right? And the world really needs this youth, like these youth people to really understand like what different skills that they don't have, how can they get them, how can they grasp them, and they need a community. And it's so hard, especially to find a community now with the rise of social media, with the rise of phones. People are so lonely. And like, I can attest to that myself. Like, being in public school, something I was afraid about before going to Alpha, before going to a private school, was like, it's such a big school. How am I going to fit in?
Yep.
And that's why I went to a smaller school. That was part of the reason because I was like, okay, well, if it's a smaller school, I'll be able to make friends because there's not that many people. And so I didn't need to be as unique. And so all of these together, it was like, okay, teens need life skills. I'm good at teaching. I love traveling. And the first iteration was Cloud9 was, okay, well, what if you can travel with your best friends 4 times a year, go to crazy places, and learn life skills in the morning by guest speakers, and then in the afternoon, you go bungee jumping, you go whitewater rafting, things that are super fun, get you out of your comfort zone, but you also grow, you also build teamwork and community. And so that was iteration one. And I still want to keep parts of that, but as I've learned, starting online, creating that credibility and practicing scaling from that point of view will help me get to that dream.
Uh-huh. I got chills when you said that, dream, by the way. Like I I can't you know, spend a week or whatever, like basically this intensive where you are connecting with people in an authentic and personally challenging way in the afternoon, like out of your comfort zone, but then learning together. And we know what happens in these incubators with with teenagers, but I think not just with teenagers. Like when you travel with a group, you get these experiences that are shared experiences, and they bond you in a way. So it's
Mm-hmm.
community. It's fast track to community creation.
Totally.
So if that's your end goal, what does Cloud9 look like currently?
So Cloud9, I've done a bunch of beta testing, right? So we're doing it online right now, and I've done some workshops to teach teens, like making it all free and just getting as much feedback as possible. Because something with Cloud9 and like being a teen founder is you want to consistently get as much feedback as possible so that you're truly serving your customer at the like highest impact that you can do. And so we've done a couple beta test workshops, and now we're ready to start our founding cohort, making it paid. Super exciting, quite nervous too. But I'm starting with just reaching out to all my warm contacts and being like, hey, like putting myself out there, this is what I'm creating. And it's scary, but I've really tried to reframe my beliefs of like, if I'm just trying to serve at the deepest level, then I don't have to be afraid of sharing this. I don't have to be afraid of sharing this dream.
And if like who's a good candidate to participate in Cloud9? Because our listenership is generally not your age bracket. It's parents of your age bracket. So if parents are listening, and first of all, we're going to talk about how to talk to your teen. We're going to move into actual communication tips. So if you're listening, you're like, oh, Cloud9, Jenny would be great for Cloud9. And you're like, Jenny, I've got this, your daughter, I've got this. There's a way to make this land, and there's a way to make this rejected before the idea is out of your mouth. So let me just put a pin in that. So for now, who is a good candidate for Cloud9? And then we'll talk to parent listeners about how to sell it.
Yes, yes, great point. So, one, high schoolers who are they have that potential. I mean, you know that they have that potential, but maybe you're struggling to reach them. Maybe they're working really hard and you want to help invest in their growth and give them more assets, right? We're teaching life skills, and this means emotional intelligence, which is the foundation of just creating that understanding with yourself and then creating relationships that are truly healthy, and then leadership and entrepreneurship, whether they want to be a business owner or if they want to be an actor. Having those skills of being able to rule yourself is so important, and that's one part. But then the beauty of Cloud9 is that any parent at any age can invest in their teen's growth by being a part of Cloud9 and going to these workshops where we have me and that expert coach that I was talking about earlier teaching one to many a different skill, different technique every month. And then also they get to ask personalized questions. So they truly get like what they need to get out of it. And then they also have that community of other parents who are investing in their teen. Whether you're at the level of you're struggling to reach your teen because they're about to be a teenager and they're just going through their own life process, or their teen's already way ahead of it and you're so proud of them and you want to figure out how to tell them that, or you're doing great at parenting and you want to help connect with other parents because you can help serve them and you want to just make sure that everything that you're doing is the best way. I mean, there's no right manual to parenting. That's the beauty of it, but that's also quite the challenge. And so we want to help provide that support system for anyone who wants it, needs it, and wants to invest.
Okay, so first of all, that sounds super exciting. I think that you are on the precipice of something amazing and well needed. And so let's talk about, because I listened to that TED Talk. Let's talk about practical tips that you have for parents to help their messages land, to help their connections stay. Because I'll tell you from the parenting side of things, although you know this because of the research and growth that you've done personally, nobody wants to be in disconnection with their kid. But plenty of parents are willing to live in that state if they're willing to sacrifice temporarily their relationship with their child if it means helping their kid get to the potential they know they can fill. So they will nag their child or ride their kid's case to get certain things done or get involved in certain things because they think this is the method that they need to take in order to help their kid become who they're meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And what you know and what I know is there's a better way.
Yeah, it's a much better way.
Right? So let's talk to parents who are in that state of like, yes, I know who my kid can be and I see all the good in them. And we are at each other's throats, or maybe we're just totally shut down or somewhere, or it fluctuates. So,
Yeah.
so talk to us a little bit about what are some tips you share with parents about how to connect better with their adolescents.
Okay, well, the first thing, and I alluded to this earlier, is always questions. Questions first. Asking them, trying to understand like where they're coming from. If you're nagging them to do chores, first ask them and be like, hey, I'd love for you to do these chores since we're a family, since we're a teen. That's like a transparency statement right there. It's like, okay, what's your intention for their teen to learn? I mean, teens want to know exactly what you're getting at. So you're not manipulating them, you're just being truly honest and vulnerable about why you think this is important. It's like, hey, like this is great for responsibility because in your life when you get older, and don't make it like you're lecturing them, but it's like a conversation of like in your life, like what do you want to do when you grow up? And like, oh yeah, like going to college. You're gonna have to do your laundry. And so like these are things that are responsibilities and everyone has to go through it. Like I know this because I went through it. And even putting yourself out there and being a little vulnerable and being like, maybe like I didn't want to do my laundry when I went to college and I was a little stranded there. Just taking those stories and making it fun with them. I mean, I always loved to learn about my parents' experiences. And so I know that kids genuinely do care. about like adding those stories in, but then just asking questions so it's like them leading that answer, but you're the one who's guiding them. And then Sam was also
Melissa's
saying,
mouth is hanging open because she's like
yes,
so much
I was about to say something, but I don't want to cut her off
yeah,
either.
she's
So,
dropping wisdom. It's
go
okay.
um,
ahead, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, I think Sam and I always consistently tell parents to get curious about their kids, and what you're describing about asking questions. And also, to like, for our listeners, if you are only listening, you're not watching us on video right now, Sonia's tone even changed in her example of like how she was talking. And I always talk about tone of voice, and sometimes it's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it, particularly to teens. And that little change in tone that you made, Sonia, just a couple of seconds ago, makes all the difference. So please keep going. I didn't want to stop you midway.
No, yeah, totally though, because like we all know that like mom tone when they're like disappointed in you, and it can so easily like you can so easily just get into that tone. So being so aware of like how you're communicating to your teen, like I totally agree, because even like that look before your mom like is talking to you, like you could just get a little nervous because you're like, oh, I don't know what she's gonna say, or like if she texts you and she's like, come downstairs, instead of like, hey honey, can you come downstairs for a second, I want to talk to you about something, and then an exclamation mark, like just a quick snippet. Like kids these days, if you put a period after your text, it's very aggressive to them. They think that that's super aggressive and they get really afraid. Even if you're like using like the dictation and you're like, hey honey, hope you had a good day, period, like come downstairs when you get a moment, period, like they're like, oh my gosh, what happened? So like even just having no period, having like worse punctuation there is sometimes better, or just doing an exclamation mark or a funny emoji, like that's more of like that parent vibe. But then at least the kid knows that they don't have to be afraid, because then they're going to be on edge and they're going to be like, they put a period, I don't know what they're saying, I don't know what.
This is a mind blowing. Like this could be the chief takeaway for some of our listeners
Yes,
right
no
here.
periods.
Stop using text punctuation in your texts if you want your children to not be afraid of you.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. I know, like my when my dad uses periods, like it stresses me out. But sometimes he'll use the fire emoji, and then I'm like, oh, okay, he's chilling, like he's
Yeah.
like excited about something.
I think my kids have just over. They're like she's of a different generation. The periods mean nothing. I think that my kids have come to
Yeah,
realize that. But
yeah, no, totally.
okay, so leading with curiosity, leading with questions, and also making sure to check your tone, check your body language. Anything else?
Yeah. So then, when your kid is distant and you want to lead with questions, but they're not answering you, that's what I feel like a lot of parents would be asking at this moment.
Nope.
And the biggest hint for me, and I've been there, like I've definitely been that kid who just like wouldn't answer them, or they'd be like very dry and just being like, yes, no, like not really giving them anything else to work on. And for that specifically, like still have that warm presence. Don't judge and hold that space for them, right? Especially if you're trying to ask questions right after they like end school. That's a really tough time because they're coming home. Like I bet you guys have experienced it from like just being done with a work day, and you had to be somebody else. You had to like act in a way, right? You had to be somebody else to be liked or to have that authority. And so teens feel this, but at such a magnified level, especially because they don't understand why they're doing it, right? And so, right after school is such a tough time to like ask them to do anything, truly. And so, it's just bringing that playful attitude, holding space. When you hold space for your teen, this means like, hey, honey, like, I love you, I'm proud of you, I liked your outfit today. Just simple things that you can create just a sense of like softness and kind energy, so that over and over, as you consistently are there for them and you're like, hey, if you ever want to talk, I'm here, and just leaving that door consistently open. Like I was talking to somebody the other day and they were like, I always ask my teens, do you want to watch the movie with me, because me and my husband watch a movie every night, and it was so sweet because like even though she knew that 99% of the time their teens were going to say no, she always asked, she always left that door open just in case. And like as a teen, there's going to be one moment of that day where, or like of that month where you're like, I really want my parents. I really want that support. And you're going to be like, actually, yes. Or you're going to like silently creep in once the movie starts so you don't have as much attention. You're just going to sit down with them. And so always leaving that door open, not judging. I mean, we all judge, but like not judging in that way that you feel inferior and just like having that space for them is really, really good because then you can build that trust. But it usually doesn't start with talking, it starts with silence and presence.
It starts with
I'm like floored by
I
you.
know, I know.
I really am.
I just want to can you say that last sentence again? It usually doesn't start with talking.
It starts with silence and presence.
Right. That is like just where like there you go. There's another gem today because sometimes we try to fill the space. We try to connect with words, 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 words. But if you can tolerate your teen being exactly who they are next to you without the pressure of asking things of them or dumping things on them, which is what words are sometimes. You know, you get to show up exactly who you are, and I'm not going to put pressure on you. Over time, what we teach our kids is like, you can expect this from me.
So, I mean, Sam, I think also too, I mean, you and I are both trained in therapy, but I also remember when first learning and training in therapy, one of the hardest skills is to kind of sit in silence, even with a patient. Like it doesn't always feel natural, and it's a learned skill to kind of be quiet, especially if you've listened to Sam and I enough, you know that both of us can definitely go on talking forever. So um, it's a skill that you may have to work on as a parent, um, to kind of tell yourself to shut up.
Yeah,
I
totally.
love that. I love, and we had a guest on. Gosh, we're recording this in April. It was probably about a year ago. Maria Alessandri, and the episode was on the Horse and People project when she uses horsemanship to teach about leadership and family dynamics, which is really interesting. But she told a story about how one of her children, she was a mom of five, came into the kitchen. Her son saw her and immediately slinked away. and and she was like, "Oh, that's when I realized like he's expecting me to say you got to do this. Have you thought about this?" Like he's expecting me to respond to him in a way that somehow puts pressure on him. And she said, "So I need to release the pressure. I need to have interactions with him that feel free of demand, free of pressure." And that's what you're describing here. Holding
Hmm.
space without expectation.
Totally. And just like Melissa was saying, like, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. And you don't have to feel necessarily ashamed for that because the reason it's not easy is because you love your kids so much, you want to help them. You want to try and you want to, like, help support their growth. And that's the easiest way that you thought that that was the best way. And so you just started doing it. And that's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just now understanding the awareness of like, maybe that's not the most helpful thing at that moment. And starting to shift over time is really valuable because in this day and age, everyone is just talking and nobody is listening. And so if you can build that skill, it will span in so many different places and your teen will also learn that or your kid will also learn that. And being curious is so beautiful. It's such a childlike trait that a lot of people lose as they get older.
Yes. And as you get older and you become more polished or more of an expert in your field, and people call on you for your opinion, um, we get satisfaction, in being the expert. Listening is an act of vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Putting the person, you're putting the other person in first, like so you are not top dog, and you're bringing your heart forward to try and understand. That's an act of connection and vulnerability.
Yeah, I like that listening is an act of vulnerability. I didn't think of that.
I think it is. But if you can listen, because it says whatever you tell me, it's not going to upend me. I can handle it, and if you're listening well, you listen with your head and your heart. I think.
Hmm.
One of the things that I loved about what you wrote in your like, here's what I want to talk about on the podcast is when teens grow, parents need to grow also. That's where the magic happened, and I said that um, in the intro. Think back to your own like launch into adolescence and some of the like distance that happened with between you and your parents that I know have since been mended. What were ways that you were growing that your parents were not caught up with?
Yeah, I think I think it was like growing is an interesting question. I feel like changing felt more like how I was changing a lot, not necessarily growing because I feel like not all of it was positive, but I feel like I cared a lot more about how I looked, how I was like being presented to others, and just like truly trying to figure out your identity, which is something that like the 7 stages of like the Erickson's development, I'm pretty sure that's about. He talks about that, and that really resonated for me of like, oh, like you're just trying to figure out who you are in that moment. And I feel like as parents, they already have this idea of who their kid is, and they've already had this idea of who they are. And so, like, it's really easy to know who you are, like your beliefs, but understanding that these kids are trying to figure it out for themselves, but then they're also experiencing society telling them, social media telling them, their peers telling them, their parents, their grandparents, just everybody all at once is just like going into them. And you're like, how do I know like who I am? But also, most people aren't aware of like this is how their identity is being created, and so they're just so overwhelmed, but they can't grasp why.
That's you've boiled an adolescence down into a 2 minute clip right there. It's just I like it's I knew I was going to have my mind blown by this conversation. I was prepared to.
Yeah. Sonia, I guess if you had to leave our listeners with one thing, what is kind of the one thing that you really want people to kind of hone in on and be able to learn from you?
Yeah, I definitely think like anything in this conversation is valuable as like you guys are listening to this podcast. It's impressive in itself that you're investing in your teens growth or your kids growth, and so choosing one thing is such a good point because you can't do it all. Nobody really can. And so I would say the last strategy that's really helped me understand relationships in general, especially like my parents, is something we kind of talked about earlier, but this technique of the 3 H's. You ask before or after your kid is venting to you, do you want to be heard, helped, or held? And so then you know exactly how to show up for your teen. You know exactly how to support them in the way that they need it the most. But then your teen's also forced to reflect and try to understand, like, like, what do I need? And that builds self awareness on their side. And that also builds connection and trust between you two. Because then your teen can trust you or your kid can trust you to support you in the exact way that you need it every single time. And they're more willing to come to you.
Sonia, I am beyond impressed. You are wise beyond your years. And I really, really think this has been an amazing conversation that we've had the privilege of having you on. And I really think you're going to go on to do unbelievably world changing things in your lifetime. So I can't thank you enough for joining us. I know Sam is sitting there beaming right
I
now.
yeah, my heart is full. My heart is full for the future of our society.
You definitely made Sam's day. I can assure you of that. So we both love teenagers and young adults and adolescents, and it is amazing to have had the opportunity to have a young adult on with us as a guest. So we will definitely continue to follow you. I can't wait to watch where your life and career go. And we wish you all the best with Cloud9. If our listeners want to find you, where can they find Cloud9? Where can they find you, Sonia?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you guys so much for your time. I really enjoyed this conversation. And you can find Cloud9 at cloud9, the number 9go.com. And then also on Facebook, same thing, Cloud9Go, and Instagram, Cloud9Go.
Awesome. Well, I hope our listeners have enjoyed this conversation and have learned probably a lot from this conversation today. So thank you again, Sonia. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Parenting Shrink Wrap. We love you. We love your kids. Thank you for raising the next generation of world changers.
Thanks for joining us on this wild ride called parenthood here at Parenting Shrink Wrapped. We hope today's episode gave you some useful tools and maybe even a few laughs to help you navigate the twists and turns of raising teens and kids.
Remember, parenting is a journey, not a destination. And no matter where you are on the road, we're here to help you stay on course. Whether it's monumental meltdowns, teenage turmoil, or just the everyday chaos, you don't have to travel this path alone.
So until next time, keep your seatbelt fastened, your sense of humor intact, and your eyes on the road. We'll be back soon with more compassionate conversations and practical strategies to support you and your family.
Don't forget to subscribe to Parenting Shrink Wrapped wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you've enjoyed today's show, we'd love it if you'd leave us a review and share it with a friend.
If you have suggestions for topics you'd like to see us cover in the future, feel free to send us an email at parentingshrinkwrapped@gmail.com.
Until we meet again, take care and enjoy the ride.